How's it going, everyone? Mike here. This is going to be the Merch by Amazon account overview and basically, what I wish I knew, what I did right and what I did wrong, in my opinion, over the last couple of years working with Merch by Amazon. The reason I'm doing this is because there are a lot of new people that are leaving me comments and people that are just kind of exploring the whole print on demand I guess industry and different platforms and stores. And what I want to talk about is basically, like I said, take you through my account, because a lot of people get surprised that, and this is, and like I actually blame the YouTube community, because a lot of people, and there's, of course, it's a business, right? People are even running a YouTube business, so it's important for people to sell their course, to get views, right? So there's a lot of different tactics and strategies that people use to get likes and views, and sell their training. But the reality is, not a lot of people give you kind of the in-depth real life expectation, like realistic expectation of what it is like to run a business. So the one thing that I'll say right off the bat is that people need to realize that Merch by Amazon and any similar platform is a business. Like you might think that I finally got approved. This is amazing. I'm just gonna start making a lot of money. Honestly, I thought the same thing, and I remember actually watching certain YouTube videos and channels where I was honestly convinced that when I got approved here in March 2017, that by April of 2018 I was going to be able to leave my job, because there was nowhere to go but up, and the reality is completely different, and I'll talk about that. And the one thing that I wanted to also mention is that there were channels, for example, that where people who were approved even before me, that I was kind of watching for guidance or information or just learning or whatever the case is. Those people, like I said, they had accounts before me. They've actually stopped working with Merch by Amazon because people don't want to put up with this kind of stuff. And let's just kind of do a quick overview of like, if we're kind of tracking the progress here, like everything is fine, right? We see a little uptick in sales, and I'll talk about this. Like, this is one of my regrets and mistakes. And then it kind of plateaus, and you're thinking, but that's okay, because this is after Q4, we're getting into regular months here. And then again, the activity starts picking up, and I think I was in maybe tier 500 or 1,000 around here. And then you get a record month, and then sales start going down, and you're like, okay, but again, it's the middle of the year and things are going to pick up, and then they don't. And then we get into COVID year, and then Amazon decides not to sell any of our products, and everybody has a 0 month. And then there's confusion, and those people that are saying, like, why would I do all this work for $200 in royalties when I can sell on eBay, when I can sell on Etsy, when I can do random things that will make me more money? They gave up, but I didn't, right? So what happens is now there's an uptick, right? So this is where, again, I got tiered up. I skipped a tier. They tiered me up from 8,000 to 20,000. And then, one of my products starts taking off. We get into Q4, and now I'm getting to some of my best months ever. But again, there are not a lot of people that if they don't see that kind of straight up arrow to the moon, that they will start getting discouraged. And I've actually had discussions with people who would get upset if I just say, well, let's kind of be real here. Not everybody will have that same experience, and I personally don't mind talking about this, because there's nothing that I can kind of lose, or like I'm not selling anything to you guys. All I'm doing is actually sharing my experience with you guys. I'm telling you what my progress is on almost daily basis. I'm saying, hey, here, let's look at some niche research together. So it's that kind of information that I'm sharing. But for example, if somebody's selling you a product or a training course, they're not going to point out that they had a a great first year and then it plateaued and then it went down. They're not going to talk about that kind of stuff. They're just going to say that they know exactly what they're doing and that if you buy their program, you're going to be successful, right? Which again, it's a business. I completely understand why they do that. I'm not doing that. So that's why I can actually talk about this freely and you guys can, hopefully get some useful information from me. So let's start at the beginning. When I got approved, and I've shared this with you guys before, my biggest regret at this point was not buying myself out of tier 10 and tier 25, because it really did make a difference actually getting tiered up. As you can see here, this is where I got tiered up to 25. I don't know when I would have got tiered up to, I think it was 100 after that, but it really does make a difference. And I sat around for 6 months just waiting, right? Making what, $30 here, 17, 18, right? It didn't make much sense. But I realized that now a couple of years later. The one thing that I want to explain is that I came into this. I probably learned and discovered and even heard the term print on demand for the first time at the beginning of 2017. And after I applied to get accepted or approved for Merch by Amazon, I had no idea what I was doing. I had never sold a t-shirt before. I had never done any kind of graphic design or anything. So this is where this information is coming from. If you're an expert, graphic designer, if you already have a store, I would expect your results to be different. I would expect you to have some kind of a strategic plan here. If you're an expert in advertising, you can be in tier 10 and sell, 1,000 shirts a month. It is all based on your skill level, and my skill level here was non-existent, and that's kind of how I started. So I started learning things from day one. The one thing that I actually never gave up on or stopped doing is uploading products, and I did that religiously. Every single time I could upload 10 a day, 100 a day, whatever the case was, I was actually doing it. So that's one thing that I actually am kind of happy about, very proud of. But when it comes to just having good designs and good descriptions and titles, I didn't have any of that. And I guess I can take a minute and talk about that. My designs back here just terrible, just honestly sucked. Like I'm even surprised at these sales, because there were a few text-based sales that were kind of keeping my sales up, and I was actually happy about this. But when it comes to, for example, right now, like I said, I use many different resources for designs, and Vexels being one of them. Those are professional graphic designs, right? And the designs themselves are completely different. One of the other mistakes that I made was keeping everything under one brand, and that was kind of the method back then. Nobody was thinking about keywords, at least I wasn't, and that was the mistake, because I thought that having one brand where people can click on my brand and view all the other products, that was more important than actually strategically picking the keywords that I need to put in the title, in the company name, brand name, in the key points and descriptions. I didn't actually think any of that. So all of these sales were kind of like random sales, and they were in niches that I just felt would sell. Like there was no strategy there, right? Here I got into, this was Q4, and this is just about the time when they let us sell pop sockets. And I actually had a lot of good ideas for that, because the design for pop sockets were different than for t-shirts. A lot of people were still listing and pushing the same kinds of designs, but I wasn't. For me, it was kind of like different, colorful, floral type designs that actually made sense, that made use of the whole pop socket print area. And I don't think there were any kind of like text-based designs. And that was clear. Like this was a clear uptick. My number one seller here was a pop socket. I still sell that pop socket from time to time. Like I was selling something like 200 or 300 a month during December here, and then I think it got the label of Amazon's Choice, so that even helped it. But then again, as soon as that label, the tag was taken away, my sales dropped, and this is where people kind of start getting confused, because they're saying, how can this happen? Like this doesn't make sense to a lot of people, because they've seen on YouTube with other people talking about Merch by Amazon is just like skyrockets, right? But that's not the case, because again, we don't have any control over what happens. We don't have any control over, for example, the information that we could get from, let's say, Etsy Analytics to see which keywords customers are searching for in order to get our products. Like, for example, like I want to see if somebody's looking for a purple pop socket, if they're getting one of my purple like pop sockets, right? We don't have any of that information. So once they remove a Amazon's Choice tag, or some of the products are being throttled, which is basically they're not being shown because it's a busy time of the year, your sales drop. And this is actually when most of my products, most of my best sellers were pop sockets, and then pop sockets, the company, the provider, was actually pushing so many products and lowering their prices, and there was no way to compete. So I was basically losing my best sellers, and I had to kind of adjust and start pushing more other sellers, which were t-shirts. I was also exploring and pushing a lot of products that were long sleeve shirts, sweatshirts, because at this time they were already available. But again, those were definitely not my best sellers. So it was kind of like still learning about what's happening. There were also, for example, designs that I listed, I remember in like July or August of 2019 that started selling in November of 2020. So there are a lot of unknowns. And again, even something like this, nobody could have predicted this, right? I mean, how could you? How do your sales go up if Amazon doesn't list any of your items? So I think it's really important for anybody who's kind of getting into this is to recognize that this is a business. If you don't have the skill set, the required skills to run your business, like I definitely didn't throughout 17 and 18, and then I started actually learning, and then we get into this year with the tier up and everything, and I'm consistently making around $1,000, and I'm seeing like a healthy spike in Q4, and I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but these are the kinds of things that you learn. So don't let anyone kind of fool you and where you're going to say, hey, I finally got my Merch by Amazon account. I'm going to start selling thousands of shirts. I honestly want that for you. I want that for myself, but it is much tougher than people realize. I think even somebody made a comment today on one of my other videos basically saying, how is it possible that I can list 600 products, or I don't know if it was designs or products, and not get any sales? And honestly, I've listed sometimes thousands, and I haven't, absolutely no sales. And one thing that I say is, if I had gave up, here or here or here or here, I wouldn't be here today, right? So for me, because like this is one of my hobbies, and I mentioned before that I have multiple sources of income through other, not just print on demand platforms, but there's a bunch of things that I'm doing in addition to working a full-time job. Like I actually enjoy this. So for me, even if my next year turns out to be exactly the same as, this year, 2021, I will still be happy. I will still do this every single day. So again, look at this, like 129,000 live products. And I was actually doing some math before this, because it's important for people to realize that just a couple of months ago, before they went to this new system of live designs versus live products, I had about, I think it was something like 8,000 products live, because I was in tier 8,000, and then I was tiered up to 20,000. But when it comes to live designs, I had something like, I think 3,000. Or maybe even less. And then if we do the math, because somebody was saying like, how is it possible to have 129,000 products? Let's look at it. Let's look at even 3,000 designs and multiply it by 66 products. That's almost 200,000 products. So So I'm not even anywhere near that number. So basically, I think what's happened in the last like 3 months, 4 months, I've actually listed about 120,000 products just in the last 3 months. So this could be considered as a whole new account at this point. So I guess the things that I had learned earlier or wish I had known is get out of the lower tiers any way you want. Consider this to be business, and actually do it properly. Do some research and learn why it's important to have good brand names, amazing titles, why it's important for you to have description points and to have actual descriptions. Why is it important to have the listing look like, somebody like, Gap is selling it, or Star Wars brand, or something like, like if you went to a professional, really well-known brand and looked at their listings, they wouldn't look plain. They wouldn't have blank spaces or anything like that. And that makes a difference, right? So there are a lot of things that you can kind of learn, and you evolve, and you simply, like, sometimes it is just a numbers game. Like there was another YouTuber I saw, he was in tier 200,000, so 10 times more than me. He had close to 200,000 designs live. I'm not talking about products, designs, like over 150,000, and he did about $6,000 in profits last month, and I did 2,300. So somebody would say, well, why didn't he make 10 times more than me and get 20,000? Because that's not how it works. You could have a product that sells, once every 3 months, but you can have a product that sells, 4 or 20 or 50 a day. So it all really, really depends. And then it's also the question, are you utilizing, are you actually running ads? I'm not. I'm running one ad that's spending maybe like $1 a day, and it's not even maxing that out. I think my budget is $2 a day. So for 99% of my product, I'm not running ads. These are all organic sales. I've seen people that, for example, will spend $1,000 on ads and then make $2,000 in profits. Like, do you want to do that? Do you want to spend your time putting those ads together and running them and testing them? There's a lot. That's what I'm saying. This is a business. But one thing that I can say is definitely don't get discouraged. Just keep listing. The person that I was talking about, I used to watch this. I think the person's name or the channel is Texas Gal Treasures or something like that. I used to watch her channel. She was doing a merch. I think it was called Merch Talk or something with a few other people, and then it stopped because they weren't that active with Merch by Amazon anymore. I think that her show is back on, at least that kind of format where they're talking about Merch by Amazon. But again, I'd like to get her opinion as well. Is why did it slow down? What happened? Did she just prioritize eBay and other things over Merch? Because that would answer a lot of your questions where you guys are saying, why doesn't it just go straight up? Because this is the reality of it, right? So then don't get anyone kind of don't let people convince you that this is something that isn't, because you're going to be disappointed. I was not disappointed at any point. I'm just kind of dealing with reality, and my reality is 2 years after I got my account, I was making 105 sales, right? That doesn't make any sense. So, but again, that's why I said I'm not quitting, and hopefully there's growth, and you guys hopefully get some useful information from me. So I'm gonna wrap it up here because I feel like I've gone over everything so far. This month is going great, and again, like I said, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and I probably will never give up. And we'll see if there's an explosion in sales. We'll see if any of these products ever goes viral or semi-viral. I think a lot of people remember the Eclipse shirts when people were making something like 40,000 sales a day or in a week. So again, this is fun for me. I like doing these kinds of videos for you guys as well. But I think the important thing is that yeah, I want to be real with you guys as well, right? And a lot of people aren't, and you know, a lot of people are as well. So don't ever hesitate to kind of reach out and ask me for, you know, any questions that you might have, and then also other people who have been in the business for a couple of years. Feel free to respond to those comments and questions as well, because I think sharing that kind of information on this channel is what I want to do, and hopefully it is helpful. I'm going to leave it here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.